I'm here with Betty Sue King. Her name says it all, but she is the Pearl Goddess. Hi, Betty, and thanks for joining us today.
Oh, sure, Lisa. I'm happy to be here with you.
How long have you been traveling the world for pearls?
Well, believe it or not, it's been close to 35 years. Of course, I began when I was only 5.
Wow,
Yes,
that's amazing.
I was precocious.
So, I mean, you've been all over the world, truly.
Very much so. And you were there with me for part of that time with the Coast Pearl Tours with GIA.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
had a blast.
That
and
was
we learned a lot together.
Yes, we did. And I learned that you knew much more than I, and also found out that, the more I knew Betty Sue knew even more. So,
Thank you for that.
So can you tell me an interesting pearl story, or an interesting, just briefly, an interesting trip or a favorite pearl story that you have?
One of my favorite pearl stories actually involved Tahitian pearls, come to think of it.
Okay.
On one of the trips, I was overseas and I saw this fabulous rainbow-colored necklace of Tahitians when they were still barely available. And I fell in love with it. It was at twilight, so the light wasn't great. So I told my supplier, I'd like to sleep on this and come back and talk to you tomorrow morning. That night, I dreamt about the pearls. And I also dreamt how and who was going to buy it and sell it. And the next morning, I went back to the people and said, the weather isn't still beautiful, it's still overcast, and I have to look at your strand again. I looked at it and I told the lady who was working with me that story, and her eyes opened wide. I bought it, took it back to Tucson, and sure enough, my dream came true. It sold to the person who sold it to someone else.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yes, brilliant and intuitive as well.
Completely. Long before multicolored strands were huge and popular.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. I was so thrilled when that happened, and the lady that I worked with always remembers that to this day.
Can you tell me what you look for in a fine Tahitian pearl?
The finest Tahitian pearls have more than one color. In other words, they have shimmers of rainbow, lots of iridescence. And of course, then you want them to be highly lustrous, which means there's a light, bright shine that glows from within. And symmetry is ideal, whether you want it round or if it's drop, you want it symmetrical on both sides. If it's a button, you want it to be even on top and even on the bottom, even though it's not round, it's puffy, like a dome. Mm-hmm. So it will talk to you. Mm-hmm. You'll watch it and you'll hear it.
Yeah. What kind of treatments are being used on Tahitian pearls?
Most of the time, essentially, it's cleaned and polished. If there are treatments, sometimes those things are done in Japan to stabilize the color, to enrich the color, and sometimes they're disclosed and sometimes they're not. So it's important that you know who you're dealing with and depend upon their honesty and their knowledge to carry you through to your clients.
Do you carry any treated Tahitians?
Not knowingly.
Yeah. Great. And what's the sustainability of Tahitian pearls? I mean, will we have the same amount of supply? I know we learned some interesting things when we were in the South Sea, but what can you say about the supply of Tahitians?
We know that they will continue to create and grow them, but as far as the quality, that can vary from crop to crop. There was a time when they were extremely high priced, and then they overproduced them, and that dropped the market because the quality just wasn't up to par. They produced too many in too small a space, and Tahitian pearls are living organisms. They need space to thrive. And it occurred to me, and this is my own personal theory, is when you crowd too many Tahitian pearls in a place together, they don't thrive, because if you put too many people in a crowded city, they don't thrive.
Right.
You need space to breathe. And psychologically, that's how we live. And so that's what I think translates to when you crowd animals, you crowd pearls, they don't have enough room to respire, to breathe, to grow, and their waste products actually pollute the water, and that is a spiral that's not good. So Tahitian pearls will always be around, I do believe, and the quality, just keep an eye open. If you don't see what you want right away, keep looking, because something will come your way eventually. The pistachio pearls that were hugely popular at the very beginning, that's part of that problem of overproduction and crowdedness. There are beautiful things now, but pistachio is pretty much history.
Yeah.
There are a few, and occasionally a necklace will show up, but it will be at extremely high prices. They command a premium price.
And what kind of environment do Tahitians need? I mean, can they live and grow in a polluted environment with runoff, or what do they need from the earth?
They need absolutely pristine conditions. any South Sea pearl, such as the Australian material, the Tahitian, the Goldens, they need to be far away from civilization where the water is pristine, where the water is pure, and there's no runoff from crops and fertilizers and animal waste. So if the conditions are kept secure, then the crops will have a very good chance of coming to harvest and having beautiful pearls. But if there are problems like they experienced in Lake Biwa, that's a closed lake, with the runoffs in the city, it destroyed this beautiful pearl production. So there's virtually nothing there. So hopefully the climates may change according to the warming of the earth, and we don't know how that's going to change the conditions in the water. So maybe we'll find a way, or everyone will find a way, to hybridize, to increase the strength of the mollusks so they can withstand the climatic changes that we're undergoing right now.
What do you think of using a Tahitian pearl in an engagement ring?
Oh, yes, it's been done. And we'll continue to do it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's
all
a
right.
brilliant idea.
Betty Sue, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us.
It's a pleasure to see you, my dear.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Okay. Mwah.